I can't hear you. Hello, Nicolette.
Thank you, Scarlett. Serena, thank you. Sorry about that. Hello, everyone. I was muted for a minute. Welcome. Thank you joining our interview series for Get Published. Industry experts share their secrets, an author interview with Serena Scarlett. Welcome, Serena.
Hello. Thank you very much, Nicolette, for having me. This is really exciting to be here, and I love your publishing company, and the Get Published book is just so exciting. But I'll let you lead the interview and take me away.
Yeah, so grateful to have you here. And absolutely. So, Get Published. Industry experts share their secret, the multi-author book, which is a compilation of experts across the publishing industry, is coming out May 8th. So make sure to mark your calendars. In the link in this video is an opportunity to join the Facebook group or join the waitlist so that you're one of the first to know when the book is released. Today, I am interviewing Serena Scarlett. She's one of the contributing authors, and we're going to be digging into what she shared in her chapter, as well as how she works with her clients and her own writing experience and kind of what has led her here today. So, Serena, you were one of the you kind of jumped in. You saw this opportunity right at the later part of us closing enrollment. I think enrollment had already closed, and you reached out and said, I want to be a part of that. And so here you are. So grateful to have you here. But your writing journey really started with contributing to multi-author books. Is that right?
It's one of the ways that I began more seriously doing editing work. My writing career, I actually probably started when I was in my young 20s, and I did a creative writing course. And I've written poetry throughout my life and short stories, and I'm writing a novel, a dragon novel. How long that takes is another matter. And yes, more recently, the multi-author books, just a wonderful project to, inspire me to write about writing. So helping others how to access intuitive writing, how to get the best to help you towards being edited well and get published. So I guess it's been a big part in the last 2 or 3 years of giving me more, that known author. It really does help launch you to a greater audience, even though I've been doing a lot of writing over the years.
That's right. So really getting published, right? And pushing things along. That's one of the wonderful things about multi-author books or book compilations is you get to participate by contributing a chapter along with other contributors who are sharing to a like-minded group, a theme of something that you get to share and write specifically to. So a great first step if you're wanting to get published, if you've always wanted to write a book, writing in a multi-author book is such an amazing way to get published. And so you really had started writing you had the experience of participating in a few multi-author books, and you're a counselor by trade. So that is an important designation, right? But you really fell in love with words again, it sounds like, and you consider yourself a spiritual wordsmith who recognizes magic and draws on the natural order of life.
That's right. Thanks, Nicolette. So I believe that, and a lot of people will relate to this, that there is a natural order in life of how we create, how we manifest, how we move through life. And the more self-aware we become, then we can see how that pathway opens up for our life. When we make a good decision, that can often be what's the impetus for our way forward. And so there's a kind of link between my therapeutic counseling, self-awareness, spiritual development training, and all of those things in my life that merge with my role as a writer and editor in particular, so that I niche down to helping those people who write on topics that are, I guess, something that's helping others, making a difference. It may even be a spiritual topic or a healing topic, coaching, whatever that, but where it's really involving, I guess, truth. I like the word truthisms, you know, and sharing gems of wisdom and those types of things. So that's where I love to kind of help.
Yeah. And you talk in your chapter about intuitive writing. And I know this is something that is really near and dear to you. And so what feedback would you give someone who really wants to get started and doesn't know where to start writing? How would you guide them in that process?
Sure. Well, so intuition is interesting. Sometimes we could be hearing little messages that's helping us to follow the path that's best for us. And sometimes in writing, we might think we have the idea, I'm going to write about this, but when we start, something else might trigger and flow. And I think it's good to just go with what comes. Let it flow. Write, just write, and then review later, not spend too much time editing each sentence, seeing if it makes sense or going back over it, because that can disrupt the creative flow or any intuitive downloads. I mentioned in my chapter that, I think a very well-known, and it's been out for, I don't know if it's over 30 years now, Richard Bach's Jonathan Livingston Seagull is a beautiful story about rising above the difficulties in life and getting into a flow. And he did say that came completely as an intuitive download for him. So it's been around for a long time. People can access a story and they say, I don't even know that I wrote this. It just came to me. However, that's one extreme, but there are also just letting your own creativity flow and just let come what does. And it can surprise and it can be a lovely experience.
It's such good advice too, because I think sometimes as writers, we get in our own way, right? Or especially when we're just getting started writing or we don't have a lot of confidence. Even some of the most established writers can get in their own way when it's something that is very personal or, something that they're overthinking. So really being able to just let what wants to come through, and then go back through and really, frame it, edit and do those processes, I think it's really, really wise advice and great guidance. So when someone comes to you, you support obviously you support other publishers, authors, and you do a spectrum of different editing services. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, certainly. So I do mainly go through publishers like yourself that, maybe you have people that might have a solo book or have chapters that they'd like some input on. So I can work with people from any stage. Maybe they even have a whole story they'd like to get out, but they don't know how to start at all. We could have interviews, draw out some of the topics, even draw out the whole story that way. It's one way to do it. And then helping people to draw that out. Or it might be taking a very rough draft, even a starting point of what someone has, giving them some input and guidance on what to do next, and then help them along the stage, right through to where someone's got their whole chapter written and they want an edit, because when we write our own, we're too close to it. We can read it and reread it over and over. And sometimes we've actually got a sentence in there saying the exact opposite to what we mean, and we don't pick it up. And it takes someone else's fresh eyes to go, is this what you're really saying? And that happened in my chapter. I had something and, had another editor look at it and went, you're saying this, don't you really mean that? And so it's always very useful. And then I think people need to do their own final proofread as well, because when you've given it to an editor, things may change the meaning of what you're saying as well. Just even changing grammar can sometimes do that inadvertently. So, so that I've kind of got what I think is a foolproof method, although mistakes can still slip through, and that isn't really the end of the world. sometimes we get very caught up thinking, oh no, it has to be just right, it's published, it's in print. But no, it shows you're a human, caring person that's not this great corporate polished, this is your story, your human experience, and that's okay. It's not a big problem if something like that does happen. And I learned that from one of my very early writing teachers when I was doing website copy and marketing materials. They said it actually can go in your favor because it shows you're, at a level that people want to relate to. You're not this big, expensive.
We're human, right? We're human. And I think it's so that it's very aligned with just my philosophy about life and business, which is just persevere, do your best, continue on. And those, of course, you want to get it as good as it absolutely can be, but you also want to give yourself and others a lot of grace, especially when it comes to creative expression and sharing your story, sharing your mission, sharing your vision. Those things are just part of who we are as humans. And I agree. I think it just adds some character into, and also for those of you for those people like you and I who really are that way, then we're attracting those kind of clients, right? Because we probably wouldn't be a very good match for people who are very, very uptight in particular, or maybe we will and give them, maybe we'll balance that out a little bit. So I think it's so important. So what's your favorite part about writing? What do you love most about it?
I think exploring different style, because we can also think, should I write it in first person, third person? Should I be writing it in descriptive this way or that way? And, there's no rules about writing. So I love exploring simply just, again, writing and not being hung up on style either. See what comes, because you may discover your own style.
That's
and
right.
in fact,
you might be the next creation that people end up adopting, right? And I just love your generous creative expression and how you encourage people to write, because I think so many people get in their own way and think it has to be a certain way, and all you're saying is no, just come and write. From there, what is meant to be will be, and we can work with the rest of it, right? What do you say to someone who's considering, maybe been on the fence, really an aspiring author who wants to write a book, who maybe even wants to contribute to a multi-author book, but doesn't really have the confidence? What do you say?
Oh, well, the multi-author books and publishers like yourselves have such a wonderful support network, and that's a big part of what happens, so that you're guided and assisted every step of the way through to what to actually do week by week, and you get several months if you want to put it together. I like to write fast, and I like to write my chapter in a week or two, but some people like to go slower and understand the process and be guided through. And so the wonderful networking that comes, generally in a package where we meet fortnightly on Zoom and share tips and get these wonderful graphics and all sorts of things provided for us. I think it just makes it so easy. There's no problem. And with the writing itself, you get all of the support there to help have that presented in the best way, so that it's going to be a product that's good when you're finally published.
Absolutely. I think especially with multi-author books, or, I know several of the publishers inside the book who contributed to the book also have group writing containers for solo authors. The community is such an important part that I don't think people who haven't participated in a multi-author book really can truly understand, because of the level of connections that are made. I've seen business partners be created. I've seen best friends, people become best friends, you know, and getting to connect with people, like-minded and hearted people from around the world. You're in Australia, I'm in the US. Here we are. We have a love for writing. We both have really had such an amazing experience with publishing. And now we're all coming together to share about it and to bring others into it. So those kinds of opportunities, it's hard to really put into words. And I know that sounds a little funny, but it's really hard to explain until you are really participate in the dynamic, like a community that is built around these kinds of books.
Exactly. And I think, I forget who it was that said, I think I quoted it in my chapter, that it can literally be a portal for you into a whole different level of experience in your life. And that can come in so many different ways, like you explained. For me, you know, several years back, I was at a, I guess, turning point in, was I going to do more therapeutic counseling? Was I going to do more writing? Mm-hmm. And we were having sessions where we were focusing on how to bring about abundance and doing, you know, energetic meditations around that. And I really truly believe that that helped me at that point of creating my new direction to make that really, I guess, prosperous and productive and be how I wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. And then also I too have made business partners, 2 or 3 different people that I now do editing for, different publishing companies. So it's just quite amazing, really, who you will meet and what may come for you from the networking side. In fact, the second multi-author book that I was in, I joined purely because I wanted to do the networking. It was during the lockdown limitation periods in life, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to really enjoy being linked to a lot of like-minded, beautiful people. At that stage, we were doing weekly connections over 3 months, and it was just a lovely experience. You know, it was almost like the chapter was a bonus, but it was actually a good chapter too.
That is. So many people I've worked with say the community is my favorite part. And of course, you know, people love the writing and the publishing. There's so many different elements, but the community. And I don't know anyone who hasn't appreciated that element of the multi-author book experience and just everything that people getting to, it's so much deeper than any kind of networking community that you can be a part of, because you're sharing in your stories. It's such a beautiful portal, like you said, to walk through in writing, but also in publishing and connecting and cheering on for each other. A lot of authors don't feel like they have necessarily a support in their immediate community, so they get to build out this bigger support system. And so there's so many layers, and I know you and I could probably go on and on and on and talk about it. So what is what's on the agenda for you, Serena? How can people connect with you if they are just interested or want to utilize your editing services? What do you have going on?
Okay, so I do have my websites in the book, Get Published. However, an easy way to remember is people can email me, spirit444@gmail.com.
So that is easy. And I have linked it up. So if you want to connect with Serena, make sure, reach out. She wants to hear from you. Mark your calendars, May 8th, 2023, Get Published Industry Experts Share Their Secrets. You get to read Serena's chapter along with 16 incredible industry experts who are sharing their experience, their stories, their expertise. And I think you're going to be so surprised at how publishing has really changed, how accessible it is, how it's such a heart-centered industry now, and how you have amazing people who are here ready and excited to support you in your journey. So make sure to check it out. Tomorrow morning, I have my next author interview with Caroline. Make sure to join in for that. We're going to be talking about book funnels. So if that's something you're interested in, join in. That's tomorrow morning. I want to say 8:30 Mountain Standard Time, but we will be here live. So check it out. That's all for us today. Thank you for being here, Serena.
Thank you so much, Nicolette. Inspired Hearts.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.